Hi guys. Um, wow, it's been a while, a few months, I believe. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. It's been really hard, honestly, to be motivated lately. I just wanted to get on here and tell you guys, you know, everything that happened, what's been going on, how I've been, you know, what's up with life. It's honestly, it's been 3 months because it's just kind of hard to talk about. And I wanted to wait until I was absolutely ready because it's just kind of a difficult topic just in general. And it's also just been difficult mentally dealing with everything. I remember telling you guys that I had the flu in March. And honestly, I had like a month of maybe a little bit of peace. And after that, it just kind of all went to shit very quickly. I went for a routine appointment to see my OB April 18th, I believe. I think it was April 18th. And, we did the ultrasound and they ran tests like they usually do. They check your blood pressure and stuff. So my baby girl, she measured quite small, at least by the standards that, is set. How there is a fruit or vegetable that your baby is supposed to be while you're pregnant. And at 33 weeks, I believe, no, 32, I think I was 32 weeks. At 32 weeks, I can't remember what the measurements were supposed to be, but she wasn't measuring up. And on top of that, my blood pressure was kind of high. And so my doctor, she's like, your baby's kind of small. She's pretty small, and I am not really liking your blood pressure, so I'm going to need you to make an appointment to the women's hospital, which is a high-risk doctor. So she sent my results of all the tests of me and baby over to the doctors, and basically told me to wait for their call. So, I go home. I'm not really, I'm emotional. The hormones are raging. Obviously, I'm pregnant, so I don't think anything of it. I was like, okay, well, I won't say panicking, but I was a little nervous. I was a little anxious about it because, you hear the words high risk. Nobody wants to hear high risk. So, I was very, very lucky because they called me that same day and said that they can see me the next day. So we schedule the appointment. We drive up there, and they do more ultrasounds. They test my urine, check my blood pressure, and everything that they said was right on the nose. That my OB said was right on the nose. She's very small, and my blood pressure actually only shot up. So, I'm laying on the table and they're checking, and even before, like the pre-exam where they ask you all the questions, especially like, I don't know, I'm not used to being asked questions like, has your partner ever hit you, or are you afraid, the stuff like that. It's a women's hospital, so basically any situation that women can be in, they'll ask you about it. And they looked at my chart, stuff like that, and they were like, yeah, you're in here because your blood pressure is a little high. And, the nurse agreed. And then when I had gotten into the actual appointment, and they checked me while I was laying down on the table and doing the ultrasound, checking for baby girl, I hear the nurse, she's like, I don't like that blood pressure. I don't like that blood pressure. And so the doctor comes in and he basically tells me, he's like, your baby's small. She just wasn't meeting the requirement. Like, obviously, there's going to be small babies and big babies, but this was abnormally small. Basically, they want to keep an eye on her growth. And that's what and initially, prior to that, I think maybe like a month before that she had measured small. And I had actually seen this same doctor before. But, he wasn't too worried. He was like, okay, it's still early. We'll just keep an eye on the growth. And so I was like, okay, yeah, my partner shook it off. He's like, yeah, she's fine. She's fine. And so I'm sitting there and the doctor comes in and, he tells me my baby's small and that's a problem. But then apparently, yeah, my blood pressure had went up even more. And that is when I had gotten, so my blood pressure was high. It was like 171 or maybe a little bit higher, maybe 178. It was pretty dangerous. And then they found protein in my urine. And on top of that, I had really abnormally swollen. Like, obviously, you're supposed to swell during pregnancy, especially in your last trimester. I got diagnosed with severe preeclampsia. And they, when you go to your first appointment, they give you all the paperwork, all the information you ever need to know, your risk factors for certain conditions. And obviously, I knew a little bit about preeclampsia. I didn't really have too many risk factors other than I was pregnant and that I was African American, because I think apparently we're more likely to get it. And so, that's another medical term. I'm just like, oh, you're high risk, and they hear preeclampsia. And so he's like, so yeah, we're gonna have to take you to the hospital, or we don't have to be in the hospital, and then we're gonna have to deliver her early at 34 weeks, because apparently that's 40. Obviously, you're pregnant for at usually at most 40 weeks. The baby's about done developing at 36 weeks, I think, is what I was told. And then usually in situations like this where a pregnant woman has preeclampsia, they try and deliver at 34 weeks. That's the safest week that they can deliver. So I was like, oh, okay. So we're just gonna have to. So I'll meet you there in a week, right? Or in 2 weeks. And he's like, no, we're gonna wheel you over right now. And I'm looking at my partner and I'm looking at the doctor. I'm like, wait, I'm gonna go to the hospital now. And he's like, yep, we're gonna wheel you on over. And honestly, it's a good thing they did, because I need that wheelchair. There's no way I would have made my feet. You guys, leading up to this moment, I couldn't even wear any of my shoes. Like, I am usually a size 8 to 9, and I had to pick up a pair of 10 slip-ons to walk around in them. And I was wearing slides, and they were getting tight. All my socks were tight. It was crazy. So yeah, they take me to the hospital, take me to one room, and they basically they keep running tests, and then they put baby on monitor to keep up with their heart rate and stuff like that. And then they tell me all these things that some of it was going in one ear and out the other. Others were, and it's just it was just crazy, because I'm just sitting there, I'm starving, I'm tired, and I'm confused, because I'm like, what happened? How did we get here? What is this craziness? And so, the nurse who was working on me, I had so many nurses over the course of this, and so I honestly, I cannot remember her name, but she looked at me dead in the eye and she was like, you may feel fine. You look great. You may feel fine, but you're really sick. And she said that, and I was just like, and they kept running tests, and they went over all the options and stuff like that. And, they gave me a minute. They're like, okay, we'll give you a minute. And I just look at my partner, and I just start crying, because I just keep wondering, sorry. I kept wondering if I did something wrong. Was it my fault that I'm here? And I was just so worried about my baby. So I sat there and I cried for a little bit. And, it wasn't so bad, because we were both healthy in that moment. Totally fine. Sorry. It's just all coming back. So after they run the test, I kept telling them how hungry I was, like, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't want to keep a pregnant woman waiting to eat. And so I finally got a room. They took me upstairs, and that was pretty much it. You know, there was a few days went by, and I had to be in the hospital every day. Every 4 hours, they would come in and they would check my blood pressure and my heart rate. They would check the baby. I think every 3 hours, they would put baby on monitor and keep up with the heart rate. And so that was a Friday when I was admitted. So the very next Monday, and at this time I'm 33 weeks. On that day, it was Sunday into Monday. It was like 3:30 a.m. You know, and mind you, I'm taking blood pressure medicine at this point, and stuff like that. There's all kind of side effects, especially digestive ones. So, and even pregnancy itself can make it hard on your digestive system. And so I was, having trouble pooping. Sorry, TMI. And that night I started to cramp. They came in and checked on me after a while, and then they were supposed to come in, I think, at that time when I got done using the bathroom. I kept trying to poop, just couldn't. And I was just cramping. I was like, oh my gosh, like, the hospital stay was nice. That's when I had, made a post to you guys about how I have all this time. I'm going to be in the hospital for 2 weeks, so I'll try and record some videos. I was feeling great. But this night, yeah, I just started cramping. I thought it was just because I wasn't pooping like I should have been. So my nurse, my favorite nurse, who I actually remember, Miranda, she came in, and I was like, my stomach hurts. Like, I have cramps. And she's like, how would you describe it? Like, what's your pain level? And I told her my pain level. I can't remember what I told her, but I told her my pain level, and then I told her it kind of feels like period cramps. I was like, it kind of feels like I have to poop, but it also kind of feels like period cramps. And she was like, okay, well, let's get you checked out. So she checked my blood pressure and my heart rate, and then she put the baby on the monitor. And we had trouble finding her for a little bit, but then we did find her. But it is said, I believe, that baby girls' heart rates are stronger and louder and harder than baby boys. And her heart rate was kind of faint. It was very, very low than it usually was. Usually when she's on there, it sounds like she's like kicking the monitor, and she got very quiet. And I was just like, is everything okay? Is she okay? And she's like, baby's heart rate is kind of dropping. And so she calls in a couple other nurses for second opinions to double check. And they're all standing around. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them, and it just seemed like in a split second everything had changed. And so they start shuffling around. She puts the equipment away. I mean, it was all so fast. She puts the equipment away. They're over here. They're adjusting my bed, and she looks me dead in the eyes, and she says, we're gonna have to deliver her now. And I instantly start crying. Sorry. I instantly start crying. And I tell her, I'm like, no, we can't, it's too soon. Remember, they said you have to be at 34 weeks to deliver early, it's too soon. And she's like, we're gonna have to deliver her now. And so, I'm sorry, it's loud. So, I call my partner, and he doesn't answer. And then I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, it's time. And she's like, what? I was like, Mom, it's time. And she's like, no, it can't be. It's too soon. And I just tell her I can barely get it out because I'm just so choked up. I'm like, I know, Mom, but it's time. And so I hang up, and they ask me if there's anyone else I want to call. I mean, we're were rushing down to the second floor. I mean, they had already ripped my gown off and put me in another one. They put a cap on me, and I was down there. I was laying down, and I just see all these bright lights above, and bawling my eyes out, trying to figure out like what's going on. My heart is racing, just beating out of my chest. We get to the OR, and they put the little mask thing on me. I had a couple of nurses around me, and then my nurse Miranda was there, and she looks at me, and I got the thing, and she's like, all right, just breathe. I need you to just breathe, and it's gonna be okay. It's like, okay, they're gonna shave you so they can make an incision. And the breathing actually, it did help. You know, most of the time when people tell me to breathe, I tell them to F off, because it does not help. This is a very stressful situation, and I was stressed and I was anxious, but for some reason I was able to just calm down. So she said they're gonna make an incision, and I even try and look down to look at everything, and then next thing I know, I wake up in my hospital bed, and I'm looking around, and I'm just like, what, where am I? Like, what happened? What's going on? And so they bring me up to speed, you know. They're like, I think it might have been too much at that time. I don't think they told me right away what happened, but I had my partner and I had my mom, and they're looking at me, and I'm like, what's happening? I'm okay. What's going on? You know, like, how's the baby? And I'm sorry. I was relieved because I made it to the other side. I was like, oh God, okay. This is fine. This is cool. So I had what's called placental abruption. And basically my placenta was separating from my uterus. You know, and the placenta is the baby's lifeline. It was also the thing that was kind of killing me. So they had to get it out of me. You know, there was really no choice. And so I wake up, I'm like, okay, how's the baby? Where's my baby? And they said she was fine. She was okay. And I couldn't have felt more relieved. I was in so much pain, physically and mentally, but they told me she was okay, and I felt really good about that. So I asked when I could see her, and they told me I couldn't see her until I was out of high risk. And so my mom had seen her and my partner had seen her, and I kept asking about her every chance I could get it, you know. I couldn't see her. I didn't get to see her for, I think, a couple days. I think it was 2 days. 2 days or 1.5 days. I couldn't see her, and I want to see my baby. That's like literally all I kept thinking about. They would ask me questions, and I just would be like, I want to see my baby. Like, when can I see my baby? And it turns out, of course, that I was hemorrhaging. I lost a lot of blood, so it was pretty close to anemia. I had so much blood loss, and my doctors, they looked at me, and they were like, it really is a good thing that you guys were here when this happened. I was in the hospital for 3 days until I had a medical emergency, and so we had to do an emergency C-section. And so the next day, I still couldn't see my baby, and in fact, I actually had to be transfused because I lost so much blood. So they had gotten me blood, and I was basically going through that, and I had to have a minor surgery because while I was being transfused, the catheter came out and blood went everywhere. Oh my God, it was just I'm lucky I was so calm at this point. They sent over one of those like physical touch healers, and almost like a prayer over me. Some people believe in them, some people don't. My partner, he's just like, She asked him if he wanted, a session, and he's like, no. And it's and in the get away from me kind of no. And so I was able to be calm through that experience, which could have been more traumatic than it was. They give me a new IV. They got me a new IV, and I was getting transfused. While I was getting transfused, they wheeled me down to the second floor again to have a minor surgery to see if they can get the catheter out. He couldn't find it. There were CT scans, all of these tests just to find it on the floor. Like, you guys, this hospital stay was just something else. When I tell you, it was something else. So I went through all that for nothing because the catheter ended up being on the floor. So the next day after that, it was amazing because I was getting better and better. And they're like, so good news, we get to move you to, I think, was it another floor or another room? I don't know why, I can't remember, but I think it might have been another floor. We get to move you, to a regular room. You no longer have to be at high risk. And that made me so happy because that meant that I could finally see my baby. So we move, we change rooms, get all the stuff packed. I get wheeled down there. I think it was downstairs. I think it was from 5th floor to 4th floor. That doesn't really matter, but and I got settled, and then I could see my baby. So I got wheeled downstairs again to the NICU, went to the room, and there she was. She was just so perfect. The perfect 3 pounds and 8 ounces of human that I could ever see. And she was just so beautiful. And I was just so worried because I wasn't able to see her for those 2 days. I was so worried that there was going to be a disconnect, that she wouldn't know me. But she was awake. They're like, you want to hold your baby? And I'm like, yes, I want to hold my baby. Are you kidding me? Yes. And so they took her out. She was awake, and we did the skin to skin. She was on my chest, and she just she looked up at me. She really looked up at me. Mind you, newborns, they can barely open their eyes, they can barely see, but she looked up at me. And she stared at me for a little. She was just like, I know you. And I was looking at, I was just like, oh my God, you're looking right at me. Hi, baby. Hi. My, my my little Mackenzie. It was such a moment, guys. Like, I could have been in that moment for the rest of my life. It was so beautiful. I was at peace. I felt every emotion you can think of. Like, that was just the best moment. I was not prepared for it in the best way. Like, I pictured, her being born and us seeing each other for the first time, but I never pictured that. That was better. That was seriously better. So yeah, after that I did have to stay in the hospital for 5 more days. I was in the hospital 8 days total. And of course she had to stay in the NICU. She had to stay in the NICU for 21 days after that. So basically we spent a month in the hospital. And once I was discharged, the doctors, they don't recommend that you stay in the NICU all the time, every day, or at all, really, because it's not good for you mentally or physically. The nurses are coming in there every 4 hours to do what they call cares, which is changing the diaper, checking the blood pressure of the infant, the whole list of things. And it's not a restful environment. And so I took them up on the offer to go home and to rest, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's one thing to not be pregnant anymore, like to not, feel your baby inside you. And it's another thing, and it's one thing to go home from the hospital after doing something so crazy. And this is whether you have a C-section or a natural birth and it's successful. All of those are one thing. But to go home without your baby is another. I'm telling you, I packed my bags and I went home, and of course I said hi to little fur babies, and I was happy to see them. I missed them, but I looked around and around, and I was just in darkness, almost like complete sadness, like the aftermath of everything that I went through. It was so hard to adjust to being home. Like, how can home be one of those places that you don't that doesn't feel like a home, and I did a lot of research on postpartum depression and stuff like that, and it didn't really sound like me. There was a depression, but it wasn't me not being able to bond with my baby or thinking about harming my baby or harming. It wasn't anything like that. The depression was not being with my baby. I would be here and I would be so depressed. I would stay in bed all day. I could cry all day, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be away from my baby. So I told my partner, I told everybody else, I decided that however long it's going to take for her to be in the hospital, I'm going to be there with her. Simple as that. I already started my maternity leave, and I was like, nope, I'm going to be with my baby. And so I go and I stay with her, and I'm just so much happier. Obviously, a hospital is not an ideal place to be. It's not at all. But I need to be with her. I could not, just being in the same building with her would be enough. I need to be with my baby. I can't be in here. I know this is home. I can probably sleep here, but I couldn't. I still couldn't. Like, during the day, maybe I would be in bed all day, but it wasn't a good sleep. It just wasn't good. So I decided to stay with her. So we were both in the hospital for about a month. And she was born April 23rd at 4:22 a.m. And she was just beautiful. And honestly, she was healthier than me. I mean, they had taken her breathing tube out like that same day she was born. She's my little trooper. She's so strong. And after that, she kept hitting all these milestones, and she was doing exactly what she was supposed to do. And they were trying to figure out why she's in the NICU and stuff like that. And it was because she was small. She wasn't even at car seat weight. So once she got up to the car seat weight and did the car seat test, and we were out of there. And it was just such an amazing feeling to know that I had a happy, healthy baby. And she was, even now, she's a little over 3 months. She's just such a happy and healthy baby. She's growing all the time. She's laughing and smiling all the time. I was sicker than her. And, after they had discharged me, I still had to be on blood pressure medicine just for a little bit, medication for a little bit. And then, yeah, my blood pressure was improving. I was getting better all the time. I got to get off of it. They lowered my doses. They, took me off of one, and I was feeling a lot better. Mentally, I'm still trying to recover from, mentally and physically, I'm still trying to recover from all the scars, everything that happened at that hospital. The staff was great. All my nurses were super, super nice and attentive to everything that I was feeling, to anything that I would say. It was honestly, I was just lucky to be there, and we were both lucky to be alive. I try not to dwell on it, but obviously I know that I need to feel these emotions. Yeah, I basically wanted to get on here and tell my story. At the end of the day, I am grateful, but there was just so many things, it was just supposed to be smooth sailing, and she was going to be a Gemini. Now she's a Taurus, which is, not bad. She's actually born on my brother's birthday, which is so crazy. He became an uncle, And it happened to be on his birthday. And he said, best birthday gift ever, which was just really special. And, I think about it every now and then, and how incredibly lucky we both are that it went the way that it did, and maybe it could have went better, but the way that it went worked out as well. We're both alive and we're both healthy, and we're getting, adjusting, but I would say that we're recovering just fine, and we're adjusting just fine. I just want to go in here and tell you guys everything that went down and why it's taking me so long to get back. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you guys who are still here for sticking with me. It was hard. It was hard for a long time, and I just had to build up the strength. And baby girl, she's pretty needy, so it was hard to get a moment to myself and to be able to even record. But I was one of those people who wanted to talk about my birth story, in such a positive light. I wanted everyone to know, like, oh my God, this is my beautiful baby girl. I got to watch her during surgery. And, most of the time when you do have a C-section, you can actually be awake and you can see her come right out of there, or see your baby come right out. And I didn't get that. It wasn't a positive situation at all, but it was a positive outcome. And that's really all one can hope for. Sorry about all the crying, but yeah. I wanted to get on here and tell you guys everything that kind of went down. The story is hard to think about, let alone to talk about. So if this has happened to anyone else, or if anyone else has had a not so great birth story, just know that you are not alone. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us out there who went through it to get their baby here. And it looks like we have a little visitor. Somebody decided to wake up during all this. Probably doesn't help that I was talking. Was I loud? Huh? Mommy, you woke me up. But yeah, she's here. She's happy. She's healthy. That's really all I can ask for. I'm going to try and pump out more videos for you guys, because honestly, I did miss it. But I also knew that I needed some time. I needed to take the time. And so maybe she'll have a couple more features, huh? She's not too sleepy. Maybe she'll have a couple more features. Can't wait to get some more content out for you guys. So yeah, that is it. Like this video, share it with a friend who needs to see it, share it with your grandma, anyone, and let me know where you guys are at, how you guys are feeling. Yeah, someone needs some attending to, so I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.